And if that wants to be a commercial kitchen, for catering kitchen, for use, you know, we could have it for that. You know, it could be multi-use for that area. So, and then thinking if we did that, then we won't be able to put a door in the back to go into the bathrooms. It would have to be in the side. You know, we would just do the bathrooms right here for entertaining, or for the venue guests. And then from here on in, it's all yours. You know, we can do the English garden this close.
Well, I definitely, you know, because you're going to start, you know, you'll be starting to build the trellises and the arbors and all that other thing over the next couple of months. But I wanted that. All right, that's right. I wanted where, when we come in on the pathway, remember when I was showing there's an entrance like right here alongside the bridal barn that will go into the back area. That's, you know, once eventually when we build the road down there for the vendor trucks, because that way we might have to figure out that they can come in that way. I don't know. That,
yeah.
This video is going to help because I got to figure that one out. Because when we're drawing it on paper, we're not seeing the downcline and everything that this has.
So depending upon how wide you want to put this English garden, okay? If you want to start it closer, you know, before it starts to drop off here, you know, then we can go, let's say, 75 feet, and then put your arborvitaes. That still might put us so we're not too far over the edge. And then we put this area right here, and do it
the bridal little hut house,
and run it this way, and then do the pathway like we talked about up here and get into the center of all the venues. So it doesn't have to be that far over there. It can, we can tuck it right behind the trees. We should get a soundproof it so the guests don't hear the bride and the groom talking or whatever inside the hut. Maybe saying some things about the guests. Accidentally overhear them.
Right.
So, you know, your English garden, I mean, it's not going to be huge.
No.
You know, so even if it, I mean, even if it ends here, you know, then you want to do the center area for your water fountain.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and then it's going to, you know, go off. So this way you walk this path that goes to the English garden. That way goes to the chapel. That way goes to the gazebo. And then straight is where, over the hill, that's where they're going to park and everything. And then eventually, when the venue starts getting busier, then we can not rent out, but we can have a tent permanently set up for the venues. It just looks like it's so hard to tell when you're like this direction, because without those stakes, you don't even know. It's so hard to tell.
You know, we needed the flies are.
I know. Very windy.
Straight out. I mean, here looks flat, reasonably flat, but you look this way and it continues to.
But this is not bad though, because this is where, you know, again, we just walked out of the English garden. Now we're in the center area. You know, where the fountain's going to be in the middle. And I think I want to do arbors over each path entrance. And then once we go through the entrance, how big do you think, how many feet do you think it's going to be when I have the fountain in the middle as a circle, and feet off of that is going to be, you know, the walkways. How big around do you think that's going to be?
Well, I think we got to consider the seating area and size of each area. Right now, I think it should be big,
Right.
because it's going to make it scale properly. You can't have this little dinky intersection. So
No.
it's got to be a full.
We got to have something that fits at least.
Yeah.
I don't want to go more than 150 people to have for seating in front in the English Garden. I don't want to get bigger than that. I want to stay. That's a good amount of people that can be handled well. You know, once you start getting more than 150, I mean, not everybody goes to the ceremonies, you know.
But you got to
But
think.
I also want to make it big enough that if we do have a section that we do have a cocktail hour in the English Garden before the ceremony, we want to make sure there's enough room for people to be able to walk around and with their cocktail or coffee, tea, whatever they're drinking.
So we're going to look at. I think 250 wouldn't be unreasonable for seating.
I've never seen 250 people sit at a ceremony, honey. That's a lot. That's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
I don't know. That's crazy.
But I'd rather have more room than not enough room. So
Yeah,
we can design it for, let's say, it adds up quick, because you can do 10 seats by 10 rows. That's 100. 5 and 5 by 10 seats. That's 30, 35 feet, because you allow 3 feet per section of row. So you could fit a lot of people. Look what we did with Chances. He had 50 people in a small
indoor venue
conference room.
How many people are the weddings that we went to that have been outdoors?
Well, Caitlin was the last one.
Caitlin's was the last one, so
that was 100 and something, almost 150 people there, 175
outside there at the ceremony. Really?
Yeah. Because we were in rows of 10.
Way.
So we were in rows of 10, and I think they probably had 8 or 10. So that's already 100 people just in that one section. So they didn't fill it all the way to the back, but yeah, those are probably 100, 150 people there.
Wow. Okay.
And that didn't take up that much space.
Right. No, it didn't.
No. So that's what I'm saying. So we're overwhelmed by the scale of this. But when you start breaking it down, if you want to do the chapel here, you may only take up 30 feet of that.
I'm thinking a good majority of this is the English Garden right here.
Well,
this is what I'm thinking.
Well, when the English Garden is going to stop, and then the chapel will go that way.
Right, the chapel's going to be right
so
there.
We're talking 30
so that's going to be the view when someone, and it's just going to be a small, cute little chapel that people get married on the outside of it. I mean, if a couple came with a very small group, yes, there'd be enough room inside the little chapel for them to get married. But the majority of it, people will be sitting out in the nice white wooden chairs in front of the chapel.
Right.
And this would be the view for the bride and groom and the guest. Obviously it's going to.
This has a little slope to it. So if I counted 30 feet for all those guests, so if we did 5 and 5, 10 rows back, right? There's 100 people. So from right here, this would fit 100 people, right? I'm going to pace out one. I mean, it does have probably a 2-foot slope.
Yeah.
But if we did it gradually, we could still put the seats in almost.
But we could also face the chapel where it's facing this way and people are sitting along this way too.
Well, this is an area where we can put the chapel at this height and fill it in.
Right.
And have a small stone wall or something that you're planting, and then it drops off on grade without doing a whole lot of work.
Right.
And then, but in this small space, this is what I'm saying, we can get 100 people here.
Right.
And if you did, rows of 8 chairs, you wouldn't even have to go that far back. So, and we curve them. We can, here you want to go with the slope of the hill, so people aren't sitting crooked.
Right. And then the gazebo.
I think the gazebo should go right in the middle somehow. You know, maybe we do the path this way, so the path comes around and feeds the center where it goes this way to gazebo, that way to that way, and this way to the. Because I think the gazebo, being the gazebo, if
You
we
may
do it
not have
square,
it where I was saying.
you were thinking over here.
Correct. So where the parking lot's going to be, you're saying put the gazebo
No.
right in the middle.
Well,
I mean, the parking lot's going to be way over there.
which is nice
It's not
about
going to
this.
be like right on top of it by any means.
What's nice about this is that if you're standing here, you're not going to see any cars.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You're not going to. Cars not going to be in the picture.
Photography and
nothing
stuff?
because it's over the ridge.
Yeah.
So when people come over, they're not going to know what's here either. So they're going to have the same first impression. But I'm thinking if you do the gazebo that way, if it's rectangle, we can have seating on all four sides, depending upon the time of day
That they want to get married.
and the exposure to the sun.
Yeah.
And then that becomes kind of like the focal point.
So if you're thinking, so as I'm walking, you're thinking like right here, the gazebo, because I want to stand in the middle and then go around, because this is, so if the gazebo was right here,
Yeah.
this would be their view.
Correct.
And obviously the trees are going to be all grown in, but we are going to cut some of these straggly ones that are getting choked out by the vines. So that will open it up so you can see the top. Mountains, hills, what are the little valleys, whichever.
And then somewhere between where we're going to have the last seating, 30, 40, 50 feet out, somewhere between there and the ridge, that's where a tent could eventually go.
Right there. Like
Right on the crest.
Right on the crest is where
Right
the
where
tent
we're seeing
can
it.
go.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that probably makes more sense, honey.
So then,
having the gazebo on that end, because I like what you said, and actually I think we did kind of fix that. Like when the entrances, I mean, I'm standing where the gazebo is going to be, but let's pretend I'm over by where the fountain is. When they come in, this is another entrance people can walk in. Remember you did the drawings, and we had like if you had the golf cart.
The golf cart would go right along the ridge right there because there's a little plateau, and it will come up right in between here and where the potential tent would be.
No,
and then there's an access to where
that's what I'm trying to say.
The fountain would be too.
Correct. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if we were standing where the fountain is, the fountain's going to be over there.
Right.
You're going to have an entrance to the English garden. On to the right side of me is going to be where the chapel is. This one, instead of the gazebo, this will be just an entrance, a walkway that will have a nice arbor over it that they walk through to get to the fountain area. And then that's where they turn off to either gazebo, English garden, or chapel.
Right. It's a four-way intersection.
Right.
3 of them lead to a venue. The 4th one leads it to the walkway.
Correct.
Access.
But then it will continue.
The access way would continue.
Right.
To the parking lot eventually.
Right.
There'll be multiple turnoffs. Parking lot, fence, here to the fountain, back to the area where the bride's going to get done, for bridal. So there's going to be multiple access points to that main area.
Okay, let's get down and cut some trees. I'm ready. You ready?
No.